Alright, this is the last part. I'm going to start a timer here. We're finally going to get rid of this. I'm actually going to move on with my life and do other things. Thank you for having watched this recording of me talking about my regrets, my financial regrets. If you want to give me some financial advice, go ahead. Just go ahead. Jesus Christ. The Seventh Seal, Ingmar Bergman, probably his most popular movie, probably is easily his most famous movie. Just the imagery of, playing chess with death, that it's been parodied multiple times to the point where I feel like most people who don't really care about movies might not know where it's even from. Yeah, this is the image to go with. That definitely. If they went with the image of him playing chess with death, it might have been a bit silly to see it on the DVD cover. There's like a 83-minute documentary called Bergman Island about, him and what he did in his island. This is interesting. A 1989 tribute to Bergman by filmmaker Woody Allen, and he was a very vocal Ingmar Bergman fan, so that might be a very interesting thing to watch. Do I really have anything to say about this movie? I feel like not only has it been a while since I've seen this movie, a lot of people have said that every time they see this movie, they watch a scene that they just hadn't remembered. Like, they'll watch it and be like, oh my god, I don't remember this scene being in this movie. And it's all great, and they'll just forget about it again. And I'll have to watch it again to really have an in-depth thought about it, because it's a movie that has a lot going on. I can't just be like, just casually, bring it up and be like, oh yes, it's about this. No, there's so much to talk about. With every Bergman movie, that's kind of the case. So yeah, that's all I can really talk about The Seventh Seal at this moment. But this movie I can talk a bit about. Tampopo. When I first saw it, I gave it a very good review. I thought it was an extremely well done movie. I have since seen it again. It probably, as of right now, if we're excluding all the Miyazaki movies, this might be my favorite Japanese film. Because, I don't know, something about it. I'm sure Juzo Itami, this guy, made other movies. I want to see them too. Because this is... It's not... Let's look at the fucking cover, man. It's so vibrant. It's so colorful. It's so playful. I love it. And the movie, the vignettes, all the vignettes, the amount of thought and personality that's gone into them, the amount of comedy, the sense of humanity, and the amount of just really weird ideas that they put, like that kid with the sign on his neck that says, "Don't feed this kid anything sweet." Like, that's a great idea. My personal favorite being the one where, the mother's almost dying, but she cooks the last meal to her family before she dies. Kind of like having this little commentary about how women are usually the main figure in a household who cooks, and that might seem like a really sexist old school idea of what mothers do in a household, but at the same time, it's also a very beautiful thing that a person is feeding her family. She's kind of like the pillar within the family, just because she's the one who's cooking. It's also kind of this beautiful thing that they talk about there. And the food, all the food in this movie looks absolutely amazing, and there's so much going on, man. There's a lot going on. And I love the fact that it also has, stylistically, it also has the personality of a French New Wave movie. Love it. And there's a 90-minute documentary on the making of this movie. A 90-minute documentary. There's interviews with a food stylist and a ramen scholar, and man, it's got Itami's debut short film. All that's going to be very interesting. Again, love this movie. Love everything about it. Yeah. So here's a movie that I've seen, but I might as well have not seen it. Because, I don't know, I saw it very young, thinking that I would understand the movie, these three movies, this trilogy. but I didn't, so I probably have to see it again. And I'm talking about Krzysztof's, Krzysztof Kieslowski's Three Colors Trilogy. I saw these when I was like in the first year of middle school, when I was like 13 or 14. I did not get it. I was entertained by them, but I was just like, I'm not sure if there's like a deeper meaning going on here. I'll probably have a very different reaction to them when I see them now. Especially maybe like Red, because I've heard a lot of people say that Red's probably like the best one out of all of these. I love that they're all short too. That's great. So I can't really say much about the film. I can say this: I love this cover. Love it. It's so simple. And by the way, I bought this at like half the price that they sell it normally, because it is in fact a used copy of it. But it still looks great. Like, there's nothing wrong with the DVDs. They probably all work fine still. And yeah, it's sort of like it's got some rough edges here and there, but come on, it's eventually gonna get there. Might as well be there in the first place. So what about the special features though? The 3 cinema lessons from the director, new interviews with Julie Delphi, there is selected scene commentary featuring Binoche. That's great. New video essays on the film, a full-length 1995 documentary on the trilogy, Kieslowski short films, interviews with a bunch of people who had something to do with these movies, short documentary about Red's world premiere. It's a full-on box set. If you love this trilogy, you gotta buy this. There's a lot going on here. Book list. Even the book lists look amazing. So yeah, half price. I got lucky. And I wish I could say more about these movies. I wish I could say more, because I know they're great films. They're considered to be great movies, and I wish I could say more. But anyways, here's a movie that's very recently been turned into a Criterion Collection Blu-ray. And I bought it on a whim, just because I love the Talking Heads, and I love David Byrne. And this is a pretty damn good cover. It's basically, there's just like, yeah, it's a fucking photo of John Goodman's head upside down. Fuck you. It's great, man. They actually give you like, first of all, this looks awesome. This is awesome. This whole like little newspaper thing that they give you, it's great. Love it. But not only is that great, they give you the freaking soundtrack. And man, Wild Wild Life, great song. All these songs are pretty damn fantastic. So yeah, and I love the little things here and there, like on top of the case there, it says a film about a bunch of people in Virgil, Texas. And I love this. This is my favorite one. Hey, this place is completely normal. Which is not what this movie is. This movie is not normal. It very much so exists in the same area as like 80s Terry Gilliam movies, and definitely right alongside Buckaroo Banzai. This is one of those weird 80s movies, though aesthetically it definitely looks like a mainstream 80s movie. Like, the music's great. The look of the film is so strange. I love how just like David Byrne is just like going around everywhere, and he's like, yeah, have you ever thought about this? I have. It keeps me up at night. Do you know this? I don't know either. Like, this random tangents about random things that's not necessarily even deep, but it's like he just wrote whatever he was thinking on paper and said, yeah, this is the screenplay. Let's do this. This is gonna work. And it kind of does. Because at the center, there's this story of John Goodman trying to find love, and it sort of kind of brings every single weird thing together, and it's strangely a very human movie, even though it's really weird. So yeah, what about the special features though? There's a new documentary on the film's production, probably a bunch of interviews with David Byrne, yeah, just a bunch of stuff. CD contained the film's complete soundtrack, we know that. An at the time short documentary that was made on the set of the movie. It's gotta be great. No Time to Look Back, a new homage to Virgil, Texas, the fictional town where true story is set. Okay, new documentary about designer Thibaut Kalman and his influence on Burn and work on the film. All that's going to be very interesting because it is in fact a very visually interesting film. You can tell that. I'm not sure if it was influenced by Lynch or if Lynch was influenced by this, but there's a lot of similarities to David Lynch's look, especially when it comes to Twin Peaks with this film. And after that, here's a DVD that I bought. I wanted to buy the box set, but I had to limit myself at a certain point. The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, Jacques Demy. Again, one of the more underrated names from the French New Wave. I wanted to buy the box set with like Lola and Donkey Skin and all that, but you know what? This is probably his best film. Because it's a musical that looks so romantic and almost like in a fantasy type of way. The colors just pop. Deneuve looks amazing. Everybody looks amazing. But at the center is a story that's actually really dark and realistic. It never sugarcoats the idea of not having your loved one right beside you and not knowing the fate of what your relationship will become. And at the ending of the film, which is very realistic, you kind of see everything on their expressions, regret, the what ifs, and they just kind of accept it and move on. And that's how life kind of is. And you would think like a title like Umbrellas of Cherbourg is going to be like this really magical film, but it's not. It's very heart-wrenching and it's great. And the songs, oh boy, the songs, they're all great. I love the fact that there's in fact a documentary on the film. Once Upon a Time, the Umbrellas of Cherbourg, that's going to be great. French television interview with Jacques Demy and the composer. Audio recordings of interviews with Deneuve. I mean, couldn't they have made... Wasn't there a video documentary, goddammit? And obviously this cover is part of like the box set, so it's not necessarily the best cover. But still, great movie. Love the film. So we only got 3 films left, finally. Here's a movie that I think is extremely underrated. I feel like everybody should see it, but nobody does. Valerie and Her Week of Wonders. Probably from a film that is a part of one of the most underrated waves in New Wave history. The Czech New Wave. You know, films like The Ear or Daisies, which is also a great film. But we're talking about this movie here. I have talked about this movie from the favorite movies thing that I did, and like I said in those videos, I didn't get the movie at first. I thought it was just being weird for weird's sakes. It is in fact an extremely beautiful film, and I did appreciate it for that. It really did have that Alice in Wonderland vibe to it, but I didn't really love the film. But then I listened to the soundtrack, and I completely fell in love with the soundtrack, and I watched this movie again. And then it clicked. It was everything clicked. It was like watching, 2001: Space Odyssey on acid or something. Like everything started to make sense. And I just loved the visuals of this movie. The look of it. The look of this film is incredible. It's so mystical and fairy tale-like, and everybody seems like they're kind of like off just a little bit, and the way they act, it's so magical. And like I said, the music, everything works so well, and I love this cover. This cover is great. And I love the description of the movie on the back. A girl on the verge of womanhood finds herself in a sensual fantasy land of vampires, witchcraft, and other threats in this eerie and mystical movie daydream. Yeah. Witchcraft, vampires, of course. Of course. Just accept it. Yeah, love this movie. I love the fact that it has like early short films by this director. Because the Czech New Wave was such a niche part of film history, there isn't much information I can find about the directors of these movies, but I love the fact that there is, in fact, some short films from this director in this. New interviews. There isn't a making of documentary of the film, but I love the fact I even have this Blu-ray in my hand, because this film is so niche that you cannot fucking find it in Korea. There's no way you'll find this in Korea. So yeah, love the fact that I bought it. It's one of my absolute favorite movies. Everybody should see it. And just for anonymous sakes, I'm not gonna say the name, but the person who I met in New York. Yes, you. I'm talking to you. I'm not saying your name just because people might start looking for you on the internet. That's the kind of person I am. If you haven't seen this movie, you gotta see it. I told you to see it, so see it. You don't have a will of your own. You need to listen to me. God. It will also kind of inspire like some visual ideas for you for your comic strips or whatever. So the last two movies. God, it's almost over. Jesus. My neck is dying. Videodrome. David good old Cronenberg. The guy who almost directed Flashdance and Top Gun. I have no idea how he got those, how he even got close to directing those two movies, but I love the fact that it could have been. In an alternate world, there is a movie, there is a version of Top Gun that is somehow gayer, but better also. Yeah, what can you say about this? It's great. It's so 80s, too. It has been a while since I've seen the movie, so I'm not really sure what I can really say about the film that might be even remotely correct about it. I'll have to see it again. It is also a very short film, so I can probably see it again. The image, obviously a very famous image. I love it. There is a short film by Cronenberg here. There's like two audio commentaries. One features Cronenberg and Irwin. The other one features James Woods and Deborah Harry. I'm pretty sure they recorded these probably after the fact that everybody knew that James Woods was like a raging Republican or whatever. So, and I know that Debbie Harry is not a Republican. So, let's see how that goes. Maybe they have a political discussion in the middle of the commentary. Maybe that might be fun. That'd be great, actually. That'd be really fun to watch. Fun to listen to. Yes, of course, there's like a half-hour documentary about the film. There's like an audio interview with the makeup effects creator, Rick Baker, who was obviously like a really famous guy. Bootleg video, the complete footage of Samurai Dreams and 7 minutes of other transmissions from Videodrome. Yep. Oh, this might be interesting. Fear on Film, a roundtable discussion from 1982 with Cronenberg and John Carpenter and John Landis and Mick Garris. I did not know that was on this DVD. That's going to be fucking great. I'd love to listen to that. John Carpenter and John Landis and Cronenberg talking about the horror movies? That's got to be great. So yeah, we're at the last movie. We're finally at the last movie. And it's a movie by a director. I'm just going to stop the timer because it's the last movie. It's a movie by a director who I consider to be the most underrated, the most underappreciated director from the French New Wave, Louis Malle. And that's Zazie dans le métro. Metro, whatever. This is basically a Chuck Jones cartoon made into a French New Wave film. And it's great. It's so much fun to watch. It's so crazy. It's actually really funny. The fact that Zazie, the main character, there's this one guy that every time she sees him, she calls him a pedophile, and it's great. It's so much fun. I love just how chaotic the style is. It really does feel like a cartoon. And I gotta say something about Louis Malle, man. Louis Malle, this guy is beyond underrated. So underrated. The dude started out with the French New Wave. Then he moved on to make like maybe he didn't start out with the French New Wave. I know that he's been making movies for a very long time before even this film. But then he also went to Hollywood to make like really much more subdued and much more human-centered films like Atlantic City. But then he came back to make French films, and then he started making movies about his past and more personal films like Au revoir les enfants. This guy was a really versatile guy, and with everything he did, he really just nailed it. And loved it. Love this cover. Love it. Very playful, like the movie. There is, in fact, a video piece about the film A bunch of interviews, not necessarily anything special. I love the fact that they have an archival video interview with the actress who played um, the 10-year-old main character. I'm not sure if it was done at the time or later on when she's all grown up, but that's got to be interesting. So yeah, love the movie. Everybody's just, if you love the French New Wave style, you're gonna love this, because this is basically like the French New Wave style, the rebelliousness of the French New Wave style, just cranked up to a million. It's so much fun to watch. So, and it's set in Paris, which is just like, it's so beautiful. So yeah. Oh, also the whistling theme of the movie is great. It's over. God, it's over. I'm so tired. I'm so tired of talking about movies for so long. Yeah, so if you've gotten to this point, you probably should have something better to do. But still, if you've gotten to this point, thank you for watching me just talk about movies for such a long time. Jesus Christ. I'm so tired. And, yeah. Don't make the same choices that I made. When you go to another country, and if you see like a bunch of stuff that you want to buy, make sure you have a budget. Don't be like me. Bye.